So, narcissist is a descriptor that is probably overused these days, but having an understanding of narcissism can help us handle tricky relationships, whether they are relationships in the present or relationships from the past with parents, for example, and it can enable us to make the best decisions for ourselves with regards to those relationships. If you recognise that you yourself have narcissistic tendencies and want to change at least some of those behaviours, then having more information can be useful and give you an idea of the right place to start. So this is a three-part look at narcissism. Today we're going to be looking at overt and covert narcissistic traits. Next time we'll be looking at why it is that people who experienced childhood trauma seem to attract narcissists into their life at a higher level than people who didn't experience childhood trauma. And in the last video we'll be looking at how and why people become narcissists. So there is an official diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, which you find in the DSM, the Bible of psychologists and psychiatrists, and used as a diagnostic tool. But we're not going to be looking so much at the official diagnosis route today. What I would like to focus on are the traits that you might more easily recognise that in somebody in your life. Even if you have or have had somebody in your life who only displayed one or two of the traits, that can still be enough to have a really serious impact on your well-being and on your state of mind. You're probably more familiar with and find it easier to spot what we call overt narcissists, who are very obvious, very out there in the display of traits and tendencies. So they have a very clear, grandiose opinion of themselves. They may not hesitate to humiliate or to shame somebody publicly. They don't hesitate to show off their qualifications, their success, their possessions. And because of these very obvious traits, they're easy to spot and therefore easy to avoid. The darker side of narcissism lies within the covert narcissist, because these people have an ability to manipulate and to mask their traits and their tendencies in certain situations or in the company of certain people. So this can mean that you don't even realise that you're in a relationship, a business partnership or a marriage with a narcissist until way, way down the line. And because of their ability to mask and dissimulate their traits in certain settings, other people around you in your business or in your community may see this person as a pillar of the community, somebody who is known for their generosity, for their wit, their sense of humour, their kindness to others. And this can make it really, really difficult for you to be clear that you are in a relationship with a narcissist, and you may become afraid that other people are not going to believe you if you try and tell them what this person is really like within the privacy of your relationship. For so many of my clients, it was only in adulthood and whilst doing therapy that they became aware of the fact that one of their parents was a narcissist, and this makes sense of the behaviour of that parent, their inability to show love, affection, to devote any time or attention to that person. And it also explains why it was always going to be an impossible task to make that parent proud of them. So what might you eventually see in a covert narcissist? It will often be a question of looking back over time to spot the patterns, because that ability they have to manipulate and to gaslight can make it really difficult for you to even realise that you're being manipulated in this way. When you do look back over your relationship, you may spot one or more of the following traits. A narcissist will let you know, directly or indirectly, what they expect from you and how they expect you to behave. One of my clients had a partner who used to frequently say, "You and I, we are as one," which made her afraid of expressing her own opinions if they differed from that of her partner. The narcissist will use emotional manipulation to get what they want. So if you don't please them, you may experience their sulking, you may get the silent treatment, they may attempt to make you suffer in another way. But you may not realise that you are being controlled and manipulated in this way, because quite often you will have the impression that actually you have done something wrong. The narcissist needs to be put on a pedestal. They don't want to be challenged or criticised, and you will find it impossible, no matter what words, what tone of voice you use, to try and have a reasonable discussion and to express your own opinion, that you will never find the right way of communicating with them. It will always end up in some sort of explosion, or, as I just said, in you getting the silent treatment. The narcissist needs to be consistently liked and adored by everybody, from your friends, your family members, to the checkout cashier in the supermarket. And if they feel that they are not getting that level of adoration that they feel they deserve, even if they don't outwardly express it, then they will take an intense dislike to the person who they feel is not appreciating them. And if they feel that their partner, their spouse, is not giving them the attention and the adoration that they deserve, they will feel justified and entitled in going elsewhere to seek that affection and adoration. Whenever it comes to sharing things out, you will find that you are always the one with the smallest or least advantageous share of whatever the deal is, whether it's a meal, a slice of cake, whatever, they will get the lion's share. Gaslighting, as we've already mentioned, features very strongly in a relationship with a narcissist, and you often get coercive behaviour happening there. The narcissist is so convinced that they are right in the given moment and will stand their ground, but is quite capable of changing their mind a few minutes later, maybe a few days, weeks, months, and will say completely the opposite. But if you challenge them and say, actually, that's not what you said a few moments ago or last month or whatever, they will categorically deny that they said the opposite. So we have this gaslighting cycle. They have a way of twisting round anything that you say so that it always feels that you are the one in the wrong. They have a way of twisting around what you say so that it looks like you have said the opposite of what you actually said or intended. And then they will go and accuse you of being the gaslighter. So these are conversations and arguments that you will never, ever win. You will never be seen to be the fair one, the reasonable one, or to have a valid opinion. So what can you do? If you have realised that your partner, spouse or business partner is a narcissist, you have some decisions to make. Firstly, you can choose to do nothing and to carry on suffering in this very imbalanced relationship. Secondly, you could decide to leave, and you will need to talk to somebody you trust or to a trusted therapist in order to plan out a robust exit strategy. Thirdly, if you and they are genuinely in favour of working through it, then it is possible to seek counselling together, and obviously you would need to reach out to a professional for that to take place. If you've realised that one of your parents, or both of your parents, as it does sometimes happen, is or was a narcissist or were narcissists, then you will need to make some choices also, and probably to seek professional help. If the parent in question or the parents have passed away, you will benefit from talking to a professional therapist in order to process what happened, because you surely will have experienced childhood trauma at their hands. If the parent is still alive, then you have other choices to make, and you are now in a position where you can choose if you want to continue a relationship with that parent or those parents, and if so, what you want that relationship to look like. Again, having some professional support can help you get clarity in that. And quite often, if you are the child of a narcissistic parent, then you will probably need help with your self-esteem, with rebuilding your self-esteem, as that will have been really badly impacted in your childhood. Next time, I'm going to be talking more about how and why people who have experienced such childhood trauma are almost magnetically drawing in people with narcissistic tendencies. So I hope you'll join me next time, where we'll take a deeper dive into this part of narcissism.